In this short video, I'm going to explain to you how you form the present tense in French with ER verbs. The present tense exists in English as well. Basically, we use the present tense to talk about things which we are doing right now or things that happen on a regular basis. And you can see some examples on the screen, such as Mary feeds her dog, Peter enjoys the food, Tim always cooks the dinner, Tim watches TV every night, May usually dresses in pink, Bob never washes his car, the baby cries loudly, Peter carries a heavy bag, Tina dries the dishes every night. These are all examples of present tense in English. Now in English, we could also adapt these slightly and they would still be present tense. For example, if we said Mary is feeding her dog, that's still present tense, as well as Peter is enjoying the food, Tim is always cooking the dinner, etc. Right at the start of the year, we did actually look at the present tense with ER verbs, but we looked at them and we used the model of a flower to start conjugating them. Basically, what we did with the flowers is that in the pot, we planted a seed, the verb, for example, parler, to speak, and then we conjugated that verb, the seed, into something more useful, such as I speak or you speak. This is a two-step process. Firstly, you take your verb, which will end with an ER. The second step, which you can see then happening in the stem of the flower, is you remove the ER. Then, the second and final step is to add the correct ending, depending on who is doing that verb. So, for example, if it is, you want to say I speak, then we simply need to add an E, which gives us je parle. If you want to say you speak, we end up with tu parles with an ES on the end. For he and she speak, il ou elle parle with an E. Nous parlons, for we speak, vous parlez, for you plural speak, and il, elle parle, for they speak. Here you can see the verb parler again. Parler means to speak. And on the screen, we have the different conjugations. For example, je parle, I speak, tu parles, you speak, il parle, he speaks. You can see the endings in red have changed. The verb originally ended with an ER, but we've removed the ER and then we've added different endings. In this table, you can see the verb parler broken down even further. We have the subject pronoun first, so that's whoever is actually doing the verb. For example, je, which means I, tu, which means you, the singular version. The stem is the part of the verb once we've removed the ER. And then finally, we add the appropriate ending. Now with ER verbs, if you're talking about je, you will always add an E. If you are talking about tu, you will always add an ES. It doesn't really matter what the verb is, as long as it's an ER verb, knock off the ER and then add the correct ending and you're done. Here's the two-step process again. We start with jouer, which means to play, but I want to say I play. Now I is je. Step 1 is to remove ER from the infinitive, from the verb, which leaves me with joue. I then add in my je for I, and because I've added a je, and I'm talking about I simply add an E to the end, which gives me je joue. Here's another example, this time with the verb parler, to speak. But I don't want to say to speak, I want to say you speak, the plural you, which is vous. Step 1, remove the ER from the verb, which leaves me with parle. Step 2, add in the vous, and then because I've added the vous, I need to add the letters EZ to the end of my verb, which gives me vous parlez, you speak. One possible way to help you remember the endings is with this silly sentence. Elephants especially enjoy onshore breezes in Kent. If you know that sentence, it can help you, it can be almost like a clue to help you remembering what the endings are. On the screen now, you have 4 ER verbs. Chanter, to sing, danser, to dance, parler, to talk, and regarder, to watch. In brackets is the person who will be doing that verb. What you should do now is to pause the video and on a piece of paper try to write down what you think the conjugated verb should be. So basically do the two-step process, remove the ER and add the correct ending. When you're ready to see the answers, press play. And here we have the correct conjugations. So I've done the two-step process correctly. Je chante with an E on the end, I sing. Elle danse with an E on the end, she dances. Il parle, they speak or they talk with an ENT on the end. And finally, tu regardes, you watch with an ES on the end. If you've got any, if you're still a bit unsure about this, I suggest re-watching the video. And if you're still really stuck, come and speak to me.